we're recording, right?
Yep.
Okay. Chad was right. The critics need to shut up. Check themselves before they wreck themselves. I will say this. I don't understand, as you didn't understand, the responses. I mean, everyone's feelings on a film or whatever it is. It's totally legit. Of course, everything is subjective. And critics are going to be critics. That's what their job. The snark I see online, and also I went to see the movie yesterday, and yeah, okay, it's a Monday afternoon. But there were literally 8 people in the theater. And I'm like, and I don't think this movie has embarrassed anyone. I don't think it will go down as being a huge flop, but I'm not sure why people weren't happier to see an indie film, and especially one that is a fine encapsulation and a fine capper. So I just don't get it. I don't quite get it. I mean, we're doing our part. I will tell everyone I know who respects my opinion that it's solid. And you're right. It's not a Spielberg movie, and it doesn't have it is slightly different, but the tone fits the story they're trying to tell. The pacing fits the kind of story they're trying to tell. The fan service is there, but I never found it incredibly obnoxious. There were a couple of times where I was like going, there's literally one bit. It's no spoiler, but I'm like, we didn't need another bug scene. You know, it's like, I mean, I wasn't creeped out or anything. It just like going, well, they didn't need that. I thought the thing with the sea snakes was great. You know, where it's like they're just like snakes of the sea. It's like, they're not like snakes.
Yeah. They look like snakes. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
That was a little bit of Spielberg-y humor there.
Oh no, they do plenty of it. They do plenty of the beats that you're expecting Indy to have, which is you know, he's going to growl, he's going to shout, he's going to be excited like a kid at certain discoveries. I mean, all that stuff was there. He gets up against the dude who's literally built like a fucking giant, that guy. And there's what you expect, the Indy thing of like, oh God, well, and he gets punched and he's like, oh, everything's there. And they are addressing, he's not the man he was. And that's okay. He's aged. But the thing that was really poignant, which was just good writing, and of course, like you said, really great acting work. I mean, Harrison was like, yeah, this is it, man. So this is Indy, full stop. The whole thing of towards the end where Helena is trying to save him, his goddaughter is trying to save him, and he's just like, she goes, you need to come back with me. And he goes, for who? And the whole thing of like, he's like going, no, my time is totally done. And there's nothing left that I need to do. And no one wants me back in the place where I should be. And then she's like going, and luckily bad writing would have had her go, well, for me, for one. They didn't. They just have her give him a look. And the whole thing is there. Also, full props. I'm sorry. I love Ms. Waller-Bridge. I have had a crush on her since the beginning, and she rises to the occasion. When I heard she was cast, I thought, well, she's kind of a flavor of the day. Not the flavor, because she's not hugely successful, but people love Phoebe Waller-Bridge. But I'm like, I remember going like, well, action heroine? Sorry, that's not really on her resume. And I'm watching, I'm going, she's the same kind of human hero that Indy is, and she plays it perfectly, where it's fun for her, then it's dangerous, she doesn't care, then she does. She basically is given all of Indiana Jones's arc over multiple movies in one movie.
Yeah, well, especially Temple of Doom.
Yes, exactly.
The Fortune and Glory thing. I'm kind of surprised they didn't drop the Fortune and Glory line somewhere in there.
Yeah,
maybe it was cut out.
No, the whole thing is that she goes from being the not amoral or immoral, but she goes from being the roguish thief who doesn't really care and it's all about the money to becoming someone with a heart again. And she has a reason for that too. It's not just because the story demands. It's like,
Yeah.
right, she was deeply hurt by her dad's slip into madness and then death, and Indy's not being there for her and all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, that's why she became cynical and cold. But she clearly cares about people because she's got her own short round guy. You know, it's like, dude, come on. It's basically the whole thing. So I loved it, man. I loved every second of it. I didn't find it slow. I thought the CG de-aging works for the most part. There's parts where I'm going, oh,
Yeah.
I played this level.
Yeah.
It's still a little video gamey.
A little bit of Irish, the Irishman.
A little bit of the Irishman, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh, you can't disguise the walk of an old man, but still, I did. I loved it, and
God, yeah.
I don't get it. And I also, at the end, spoiler alert, and I thought the way they handled the Mutt situation, a cynic could say they just don't want to ever deal with Shia LaBeouf again. But I would sit there going like, but I was like, it makes a certain amount of sense, specifically given this time frame. I'm like, yeah, and it's another gut punch. They're showing that Indy has not had a charmed life. So I love and again, gave him room to that scene where he's talking about, like, what would you do if you went back in time? I bet you want to check out Cleopatra. And then Indy goes, no, I'd tell my son not to enlist. And he just, whoa, sent that scene.
Yeah.
He so again, I agree with you, and I'm sorry that my enthusiasm is day after enthusiasm, and your enthusiasm is like 4 weeks later enthusiasm.
Seen it twice enthusiasm,
yeah, but I might go see it again. Actually, well, again, money. I still want to see Oppenheimer. I want to see Barbie. I mean, I want to see more of the new stuff. But good Lord, I loved it, man.
We're deep into spoilers already, so I'm just going to ask you: Did you watch Kevin Smith's review after you saw it?
No, I didn't.
The one I was complaining about.
No, but you and John knew what you were talking about because I talked to him about your response, and he goes, yeah, man, I don't know what the deal is. I'm like, I don't either.
Well,
but I haven't watched it.
Kevin went in and he details what his expectations were. He went in with very specific expectations of what the story was going to be, based on rumors that he'd heard and just his imagination just running with it, which I understand. That's what he does. He's a storyteller. He's a huge nerd fanboy.
I probably would be the same way if I knew, because I didn't follow any spoilers. At some point, I knew it had to do with time travel. That was about it.
Yeah.
But I knew, of course, that they were introducing a new character who was going to be his goddaughter. That was all I knew.
Yeah. Yeah. But he went in thinking, because he'd heard about the time travel thing. So he's like, oh, so they're probably going to like do this all like this. He's probably going to revisit events from all the other movies. And
he thought it was going to be like
such a Kevin Smith thing to want to happen. It's like, no, they didn't do that, Kevin. Why? It's like I was watching this review going, you fool. You completely blinded to how good the movie was.
Where they would be bopping into moments from Indy's past. Well, if that was his expectation, that is on him. And he should be smart enough to go, well, that was my fault, not theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
They had a story to tell. And actually, I appreciate that they just drop in mentions of his past. But it's not a greatest hits.
No,
it's literally him going like, I mean, he goes, yeah, well, you've never had to drink the blood of Kali Ma and all that stuff. And there's little references and the whole thing, which I really liked, which has been in lots of Indy, where he goes, I don't know if I believe in magic, but I've seen some things that,
yeah,
and
I've
that's
seen some shit.
I've seen some shit. Ark of the Covenant, Holy Grail, aliens, motherfucker. So, crystal skulls and shit. So I don't need that. Kevin, I guess, needed that. And I didn't. I wanted to see a new Indy film. And I actually thought here's a hot take. The opening, which is the flashback to 1945, I didn't think it went on too long, but I was kind of like, we're dealing with the shaky de-aging CGI stuff. And I was like, I would have wrapped this up a little quicker because we know what they're establishing, but he really did want to give us like a classic Indy action sequence. And there's great stuff, the stuff on the train and all that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of him, just like before, with like he steals a Nazi uniform and he's trying to sneak off in a car, and it ends up being the car that's transporting like the baddies, and he's like, oh shit, okay, I guess I'm the driver. All those little bits I totally loved, but the stuff I would have dealt with, I would have loved even more, is Indy in 1969.
Yes.
The stuff with him, and because it is so perfect the way they bring him down. Not that Indy needed it, but literally he just becomes a professor. He's not in the field anymore. And he's having people like go, oh, you've been here for a few years and you're retiring. Well, we've loved having you, Professor Jones. No one none of his students are engaged. They don't know anything about his history. He's still trying to teach them stuff that he loves, but they're like, whatever. He's dealing with his hippie downstairs neighbor, and I'm glad that they made him a cranky old man, but for a proper reason. It's not like, you long hairs with your pot smoking. No, it's just like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I have to go to work. You guys shut up with your damn music. Yeah. And so I loved Indy in 1969 as the old dude. Yeah. And I could use more of that.
There was so much subtlety and richness in the way that his old self was portrayed. And
yeah,
I mean, even starting with the period depiction of 1969 in the film was just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
They spent crazy amounts of money on that too.
God,
I mean, that parade
street
scene
block that they did, that they built, I don't know where that was. Maybe that was on a studio lot somewhere, or it could have been CGI. Probably was.
I have no idea. I think it was probably modern day New York that they CG retro. Yeah. Retrofitted or whatever. The parade scene with, of course, I mean, that was smart. It's like, of course, if it's 69, they're going to go like, yeah, we just landed on the moon. Plus our main baddie is definitely a Project Paperclip German scientist brought over to be part of the rocket program. All of that is perfectly chosen. And also the idea of these are the new American heroes. No one knows Indiana Jones. They don't know what he did. They don't know he's literally saved the world. But at the same, the whole thing of him riding the horse by the car that the astronauts are in, the Apollo 11 astronauts, and it's not overdone. There's nothing like Neil Armstrong turning around going, who was that fella? But it's
they didn't
just
deep
like,
fake the actual astronauts into the
instead he just rides by them. He looks at it, he's kind of like, oh, those are the hey buddy. It's like real quick. And they're just like, who's that guy? The idea of who's that guy, I've always loved the hero that is not, I mean, because everyone in the world would know Superman if he showed up somewhere. But I love the idea that, oh, the guy, the old fart who just rode by on a horse, that guy has literally held the cup of Christ. It's like that guy. It's like, you guys stepped on the moon.
And he's been face to face with fucking Hitler.
Yeah,
all these other. Oh my God! Well, if you include the Young Indiana Jones series, that list goes on and on.
And I did love the whole thing with when Helena's like going, "Hey, they landed on the moon," and he goes, "Moon's like Reno. There's nothing there. They don't even have like decent blackjack." That was great. The cranky old man. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm gushy, but I loved it. I thought it was interesting that they, like the logo, they didn't do a pulp logo. They didn't do the classic Indiana Jones logo. It's on the poster, but not in the film itself. They have this like sort of plain text. It's like interesting choice. And really smartly, I guess, Williams touches on the Indy theme here and there, but he doesn't give us the big bombastic Indy score till the very, very end over the credits. So it's just like all these little drop-ins where you're like, oh, there it is. Yeah. But I also like the fact that it's a somber-er take,
Yeah.
which I liked. And plus, again, we've been talking about time travel on our podcast quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing of like, I'm sorry, there's a nerd part of me that if I'm seeing like a World War II bomber flying over like the Battle of Syracuse, you know, and there's fucking Greek galleons and stuff, and they're firing spears. I'm like, oh
God,
I love that shit.
Yeah,
I love that shit.
And I can't believe I've heard that some of the early reviews I saw, people saying, well, the ending gets weird. I don't know about the ending. Christian Harloff is one of these people who's like, I don't know about the ending. Like, really, man? I knew, and I figured, the rumor was very heavy that there was going to be some kind of time travel. And you see in the trailer, you can see them flying towards the portal in the trailer. I thought, well, that must be the time travel
I don't
thing.
think I even caught that.
Yeah. But as far as where they were headed, what they were going to see, I had no idea. Of course, we get the hint when they get to Archimedes' tomb.
Well,
and
first, I mean, he's literally talking about Battle of Syracuse in his class. I mean, all that's classic setup.
There's a lot of setup.
And then, yes, the Archimedes' tomb, and it's like, oh, right, this is the dial of Archimedes, and it's supposed to do this. All this is made up bullshit. Yeah. And it all is great. Oh, yeah, when they get to the tomb, and she goes, look at the frieze. He goes, yeah, it's a phoenix. It's his class. She goes, no, look, it has propellers. And I'm like, oh!
And then he notices the watch, and I think, okay. So we're going back to the time of Archimedes. What I was wondering then is like, is somebody going to be left there and actually become Archimedes? Like they're going to take on the.
My brain was going somewhere in that. It was going somewhere in that, and I even thought because there was also Doctor Who during the Amy Pond years, Matt Smith. There was the classic thing with her boyfriend Rory got left behind in Roman times and basically waited thousands of years to be with her again. Because his body, I guess he had become kind of,
He was he was
basically an immortal sort of, but he was just this schlub guy that was her boyfriend, in modern day England. And so the whole thing of him accidentally getting left behind in Roman times and then waiting thousands of years to see her again, I was kind of thinking that too. I was like, well, maybe Indy does stay back here. Maybe he leaves a letter for his son or something like that. I kept thinking like maybe he will try to fix the future, but that wasn't the point of the story. Even at that juncture, I was sitting there going, they've been aiming this whole thing towards accepting the progress of time. And he knows, and Helen is like going, dude, you couldn't have stayed back there. You would have changed everything. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. But the whole thing is that, no, he has his place. And his place was from 1908 or whenever he's born to whenever he ends up dying.
Well, at that point, too, obviously he was swooning. I mean, he was in the presence of the thing. As he says, I've spent my whole life studying this. I'm dying anyway.
That's
just
basically
let me stay here.
Yeah, let me stay here because I won't last long. And she goes like, I'm not going to leave you to a bunch of leeches and poultices. And it's like, that's pretty good. That whole scene, everyone involved, including the guy who played Archimedes, who's not in it for very long, but the way he understands things, and I really did respect, I mean, I'm no linguist, but I really respect it. I was like, guys, I'm so glad you didn't time tunnel it. I'm so glad there was nothing like going, who are you? Where are you from? Instead, he's speaking ancient Greek. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And of course, Indy understands it. I'm like, every time they showed Indy knowing shit, I loved that. Because it was also the one-upmanship. Because Helen is really sharp. And so, and she's young and she's got all the energy. But every now and then she has to kind of look to him and he's like going, don't you get it? And I love it that it's like the old guy's like, I know this stuff, okay? I may be slower, but I know this shit. And I'm like, yep.
I didn't get the complaints either, too, saying, oh, they're, she's upstaging Indy. And when they're collaborating, like they're all throughout the film. That's
completely in step with the classic series. I mean, mainly, of course.
I mean, think about the first movie.
Of course, Marion.
Nothing he does has any consequence, really. But he always gets up. He always gets thwarted at some point.
Yeah.
He just happens to be there to observe everything that's going on.
I didn't think at any point that she upstaged him. And he basically says, he goes, yeah, well, you know, I used to be able to do that, but I'm older now. And he's like, the whole thing of like, you're good. And I will say that this disappointment as far as box office is concerned, and a lot of the critical dumping, which I don't understand. It is a well-made film. The characters are on point. What else do you want? Yeah. I thought the script was actually smart. I thought it was really cool of Antonio Banderas to show up for what was basically a glorified cameo. He was just like, I just want to be in an Indy movie. And he is. And he doesn't have much of a character, but still, I was like, yay. Sallah, they handled him really well. I was like, oh, and I really liked the part where he goes, 2 tickets. And he's like going, oh, no, Sallah, no.
Yeah.
He goes, go back to your family. I love that because Sallah is still awesome, but they're again acknowledging like, this is for me to handle, but even I probably won't make it out because I'm crazy old. So are you. Go be with your awesome family.
Yeah.
That was touching and awesome. And again, I'll say this, the end, man, I cried like a little baby.
Even for me, even more the second time, it was like, oh, God.
I don't know what people are saying about Nancy Allen.
Perfect.
I'm still looking at her, and to me, she looks amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there going like, Indy plus Marion forever is what I wrote on the wall of the bathroom at the movie theater. Because they was just so good and touching and awesome. And the way they did the iris out on the hat.
On the hat, yeah.
On the fishing line. Well, no, on the very, when he grabs it, the very, very end.
Yeah.
The whole thing of her saying like, and it's, again, a worse writer would have overdone it instead of what they did, which is, we're smart, we get it. Because when she's saying like, I heard you were back. Are you back? And it wasn't about, are you physically back from ancient Greece? Or are you she's like going, has your spirit returned to what you used to be? And it has nothing to do with the body, what he's able to do. It's just like, are you open again? And he's like, yeah, forget it, man. I'm sitting there going like, you guys with me? The 8 of you? Hey, should we all go out for pizza? Actually, at the beginning, I'll say this, at the beginning, I wasn't crazy early. I was maybe 10 minutes early, but it was just me and another woman in the theater when I first got in. And she was probably in her mid 40s. And she goes, I know there's assigned seats. I think you could sit anywhere. And I was like going, yeah. And she goes, and then when I got up later, she goes, if you're going out, give me a hot dog. She goes, everything on it. And I was like going, yeah, I think we got the place ourselves. How many you want? And I was like, yeah, this is pretty nice. We got the whole place. And she goes, it's just for us senior citizens. I went, yep. And then more people showed up, but I was sitting there going like, I don't care if it's just me in the theater, but I was just disappointed. I could tell that people were enjoying it. Like there was a group of younger people behind me, but they were getting all the dropped references. They also chuckled when you hear Sallah singing in the stairwell.
The British Towers of
Soaring. Yeah. And they're like going, oh, and I'm like, all right, you guys know.
I love that. I love that little touch.
It's full of a lot of little touches. The overt stuff, like the bug scene that I felt wasn't necessary. It didn't detract, but I was like going, they're ticking off some boxes. And it's like, okay, we got to have that.
Yeah. And I think this was one of the things that Kevin Smith complained about, because in the trailer, you see a big boulder like from the first movie in the Tomb of the Idol. Yeah. Rolling towards them very briefly in the trailer. I
apparently did not slow that trailer down to watch every little thing. And is that the thing he was like, that was why isn't that there?
They cut it from the film, and I'm guessing it was probably in that same sequence. It was like a greatest hits of Indiana Jones tomb.
That any tomb is in is going to have a huge boulder.
So we got the bugs, we got the boulder, and God knows what else was in there. And that was an example, I think, of
them being smart and saying that's too much.
Of Mangold's sort of restraint at not going super heavy into fan service, because he doesn't. You know, it was way more about the story itself. And again, that's what I loved about the ending too, because it was we knew you have to have some big, supernatural set piece at the end of an indie film. And the way they did this one, I think might be my favorite out of all of them. It's like, of course, I love the first movie. You can't top that.
You can't top it.
But this emotionally, the emotional beats of this scene when they go back to Syracuse, and for me, I have heard a lot of other people saying this, that they were literally on the edge of their seat during this part. It was like, oh wow, oh wait, did they actually get back to 1930? Because at first they show you the ships and there's a war.
Yes,
you see things flying around and think, oh, I guess it is World War II. But that isn't. But if you thought about it, it doesn't make sense. Wait, 1939? Why would there be a naval battle in 1939?
Right. You're absolutely correct.
And then gradually you figure it out, and it's like, oh wow! And every single beat from there to God, it was just perfect. Like when the spear, it's just so.
Yes.
This Mike Stucklasa from Red Letter Media was really praised this whole sequence because he loved it. It was like a bit schlocky, like kind of old B movie thing. Like you've got Nazis shooting Romans and the big spears coming through.
And I love that the American agent who's working, or mercenary, whoever, because they didn't really explain. I mean, I know he ended up being attached to the detail for Dr. Schmidt. I love that it's Schmidt and Jones, like Smith and Jones. I love that, even though the guy's real name isn't Schmidt. But the whole thing of, and he's perfectly played by Boyd, what's his name?
Holbrook?
Thank you very much. Yes, Boyd Holbrook.
From Sandman.
From Sandman, the Corinthian, and is really amazing on this new season of Justified. He's the bad guy in Justified.
Cool.
He's really good at these parts. I'm like, yeah, you're a little too good at being this guy. But the whole thing of him like going, fuck it, I'm taking him down. The whole thing of him at the guns going, yeah, eat that, you Greeks. Because he's about to crash, but he's just literally using the machine guns on these Trojans and Greeks, and they're like, dragons. He's like, again, I love that stuff. It is because don't forget, ever with Indiana Jones, it's pulp adventure. Even now that he's 89 fucking years old, joking. It's about that kind of stuff. So anyone who would have a problem with time travel, and I would only have had a problem with it, as I always say, if it were not handled well. And I thought it was handled really well. It's cheesy and pulpy just enough, but they're not time tunneling it. I mean, they're giving us the battle the way it's sort of believed to have happened. And Archimedes, again, isn't like, time travel, right? Yeah, I figured. Hey, how you guys doing? Where are you from? Instead, he's like, but he does click. It's all smart. And I love the way he's got his own men and his own two guys with a bow and arrow, like, don't get close to those guys. And he's like, no, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah. I think they're okay. Plus that old dude is bleeding to death right there. Yeah. So anyway, oh God, I'm sorry, man. I loved it. I'm getting I want to go see it again.
That moment, one of my favorite moments during that battle is when the spear comes through the side of the plane right next to Indy.
Yeah.
And his first reaction is go, oh,
wow. Yeah.
And then he realized he can cut his binds with it.
It's literally him going like, artifact. But it's not old. It's like, this is the genuine, and then he's like, oh wait, I should keep.
Yeah, I should cut
my favorite bit in that is before they get through the portal. My favorite part is actually Indy, again, being the smarter guy. And he just goes, continental drift. And he just starts laughing. And he goes, he didn't know about continental drift. He goes, I don't know where we're going, but it ain't going to be in 1939. And it's like, oh my God, I love Indy like basically going, you idiot. And then again, Mads Mikkelsen is of course great. The whole thing like him going, I got to think about this. They're like, we're going towards the portal. No, hold on. Maybe we should abort. We're literally being sucked in. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was a nice touch too, where you've got Teddy behind them in this plane that he stole.
Yes.
And it turns out that the pilot of the plane,
that was good, because Teddy had ended up being like this. I mean, even though he'd been studying, the idea that he would have been this natural prodigy, it's like he was able to get it started and up in the air. But I'm glad the guy was back there going like,
right,
this is my plane. What are you doing?
Yeah. So it added this this
I love
degree
the idea of that pilot. That pilot.
Yeah,
What
just
the
to
hell
wake
is he
up into that.
What is he going to tell people when he gets back to
Yes.
1969? Like,
Right.
okay, here's the thing. I may have been in the past with a little boy. Don't read into that.
Yeah. So it made the situation, like you say, it made the situation a little easier to swallow. Yeah, made the fact that getting home, obviously
Yes.
would have been too much if Teddy
It
had
would have
actually
been too
managed to
much
land the
yeah.
plane, but also adding a little, like you say, like being kind of putting the audience into the film even
Right.
more. It's like, say, here's a guy who has no idea what's going on. He's just been dropped into this and like, holy shit. I love that because we don't get any well, let's spin. That's a good trick, from
Yeah.
Phantom Menace.
I liked Teddy. I thought he didn't have as much of an identifying character as like a Short Round. Teddy was good, but I was like, they should have given him something other than, I'm just her bodyguard kid. He clearly has a crush on her. I guess that's the one thing.
And plus, Teddy's not running around saying, "You call her Dr. Shaw."
The only personality quirk he seems to have is that he's a natural like street kid and seems to be multilingual to some degree. I did like that every time they ended up somewhere else, he could at least do it. Like when he ends up in Italy and they're making fun of him or whatever, he's like going "scusi." He's like, every place they end up, he can say a few words, and it's like, wow, Teddy's pretty smart, which is, I guess, probably because he's been hanging out with Helena. And I like that Helena is got the libido of a young woman too. The whole thing of she's like going, "Oh, hello." She's looking at sailors. She's looking at the Italian guys. I'm like going, I know they're trying to launch you into your. That's what I was about to say earlier. One of my main disappointments that this should not have performed as well is I think that means that they will probably go, we don't need the adventures of Wombat. I would love to see Wombat Shaw doing some more stuff. I just thought, it's clear they're trying to set her up to take over the mantle, and I'm okay with that. I would be okay with it. To see some pulpy adventures set in the 60s, early 70s, yeah. More Helena, please. Sign me up.
It'd be great. A moment I was thinking of earlier, and I didn't really think about this till you mentioned that scene, where his Indy's, college age neighbors are blaring the Magical Mystery Tour. And when he goes to knock on his door, they don't go, "Oh, hi, Mr. Jones." They're like, "Oh, no, hi, Mr. Jones." They like him, Yeah. They kind of patronize him a little bit, like, dude, this is kind of important, so just deal with it. We're not going to turn the music off. Just go watch the TV like everybody else.
Well, they're either really stoned, but it's also clear that they do like the guy. I like that too, and I like the fact that he just knocks and he's like, "Nope," using the bat, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. But and he's like, and he's knows his name. It's not like, "You kids." He's like, "George, come on, man."
That's what I mean about subtlety. Like there was a lot of backstory in that one moment, just in their reaction to him.
Here's
being
another great thing.
Their doorstep.
Here is another great thing. God damn. Let's just talk about this movie for the rest of the whole thing. But I'll just say this. Again, there's a smartness that I'm sure comes from Mangold, but I'm sure also came from Harrison Ford, where, we're in a pulp adventure, but consequences happen. So the whole thing where he comes out after he's escaped from the dudes he's in the college storeroom. There's the whole big shootout. He does the Evie from The Mummy knocking over all the shelves and things. But then he runs out and he finds his coworkers who've been shot. The whole thing of him literally he kneels down. And you see it again because he's so good. There's no overwrought dialogue. It's just that it's like, these people were good people. Why are they dead? There is no reason for this. And it's just you see the impact. He realizes that he has gotten other innocent people killed, whether or not on purpose. And then him going to the phone, instead of him like going into action mode, he's just like, "Police, there's been a shooting here." I mean, that's a human thing. That's not an Indiana Jones of like, "I'll get revenge for you." And so he's like going, "I'm at Hunter College. There's been gunshots. People are dead." And I'm like, yeah, human hero who is grieving the fact that these people who asked for nothing, because that was brutal. Like, she gets shot and then the other guy shows up and he's just boom right in the head.
Yeah.
And I thought the woman that because they like, who's this mysterious woman that's been following Helena, and then you find out she's actually CIA.
Yeah,
but she's forced to work with these guys that are, part of the Nazi plan. But because she's good, she's doing her job, and she constantly goes, "Don't pull guns on innocent people. That's not how this is supposed to go." And then, of course, yeah, she gets it.
She gets it. Yeah, that was one thing. And here, let's get into what, because you touched on a few of the things, to the quibbles that you could have with the film. Because I do, there are some,
not many, but yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there are some faults, but none of it even came close to taking me out of the film. Really, we've got the CGI in the beginning,
yeah,
which it's kind of funny to me. Like the first, as soon as they take the bag off his head, and you get to say, "Look, here's young Indy," and then they go a step further by shining a flashlight in his face, like,
yeah,
look at the CGI, beautiful face. Like, you're just making it worse, guys.
Actually,
take
mostly
the flashlight away.
The close-ups were where they put all their work into, and the close-ups are pretty good. Like, the acting seems to be pretty, but it's all those middle shots and then the far away stuff where it's stunt double guy with ghosted on young Indy face, and you're like,
yeah. But I just had, it's like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I can see the Uncanny Valley is there. I'm just going to enjoy this scene, because it is incredibly blocked action scene from start to finish. So there's that, and that's fine. But the thing about the brutalness, I didn't have a problem with. It was important to have these villains, like, they're not just comic booky, he twirling mustache guys. They're dangerous, and I get that they did that too. It was a little depressing for me, like when we get to meet Antonio Banderas and his crew of fishing guys, and they're all just these lovable characters. You don't really get to know them very well, but they're all just like, these guys are cool. And of course, they all die. Everyone's like, that was brutal too. And I think
the film keeps trying to underscore, because literally, they have on purpose. They have Helena going like, "Dude, we're living in Indiana Jones." And he goes, "My friend was just murdered."
Yeah, that was important.
It's important that he's like, and that was just like the lady and the guy in the college. He is aware that an Indiana Jones adventure is costing good people their lives.
Yeah. But that was one moment where I was like going, I really didn't want those characters to die.
Me either.
But there was a point, like you say, there was a point to it. And then there was the thing we talked about with the bugs. We already talked about, the bug scene was not really necessary. And I would say too, and I get what, and Mike Stuckel also, again, from Red Letter Media, did say this too, that he would have been happy with just old Indy. Like, just start the movie in 1969. It would have been great. Old Indy is awesome. But I agree with him. We didn't need the beginning scene, but I'm glad it's there all the same, because it is.
Yeah, I literally, I really think it could have, and it wasn't about me getting bored. It was about me saying exactly the same things of like, well, I know what you're trying to do, which is put us back in classic Indy world, but it could have been shortened. I would have edited it down some. It seems too prolonged for all it needed to set up. Was his relationship with Toby Jones's character Shaw, Baz, and the dial, and what happened to the dial. That's all they needed to do. So they could have really chopped it, and then we wouldn't have also been so caught up with constantly looking at de-aged face, and because that takes away a little bit from action adventure. I mean, when they did, obviously different time, different tech, but they did not, you could have cast a young person maybe to have been Indy or what, well, maybe not, because that's supposed to be 1945 Indy. Because here I am thinking, it's like, River Phoenix was not de-aged Harrison Ford. He was just River Phoenix playing a young Indiana Jones. So no, I take that back. Well, they're dealing with 1945 Indy, but they could have shortened it.
What they could have done, and I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do this, because it's been proven time and time again that actual deep faking effects are just better than what they did, the CGI de-aging, which is what they did in The Irishman too. And that pretty soon it's going to start popping up when the video comes out. When the movie comes out in video, we're going to have YouTubers
people saying, I could do it better.
Versions. Yeah, and they will. They will do it better, and they'll edit it down. They'll make it more streamlined,
just like they did with Mandalorian young Luke.
So what they could have, yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting to, is that they could have had a younger actor stand in, basically the stunt double, doing the physicality, and then use de-aging to put young Harrison Ford's face on there, and maybe even have a maybe not a voice actor, but maybe use something like AI or something to de-age his voice.
One of the things that again, just like the Irishman, which
somebody's going to do all this.
Yeah, they will do all that, but just like in the case of the Irishman, one of the giveaways is not only movement, it is voice, because his voice is aged. Even as goofy as it seems, if they had shown young Indy getting punched in the throat at the very beginning, and then he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on?" I mean, I would have accepted that more, because 1945 Indy shouldn't sound like 1969 Indy, and that's nothing on Harrison Ford, who's of course acting up a storm, but our voices change over time. So he can't sound like, 35-year-old Harrison Ford anymore. He just can't. That's why they created the whole thing using James Earl Jones's syllables and stuff, and then they could just type in whatever they need him to say. Mm-hmm. Again, technology's getting better and helping us with this stuff. The question is, should we be doing this? I don't know. But as long as the actors are okay with it, then why not? I will say, I'm glad this was the last, simply because they addressed everything about the end of a legend and the old man who still has a spark, but it should be allowed to rest now and that kind of thing. I mean, I just thought, great. And it handled it with respect and humility and all the stuff I wanted, because I don't like Mary suing. If he had shown up and had just been the ultimate badass Indy, with no acknowledgement of the passage of time, and everything was just him going no problem, bang, bang, bang. I mean, no, this shows him literally running to the best of his ability. He just can't run like he used to. Mm-hmm. The whole thing of Helena gets there first, and then Indy kind of I'm here now. I loved it. I just thought it was all good, except for, I will say this, here's a nitpick. It can't be the same hat. Because the hat is in such good shape in this movie. And I'm sitting there going, that's a hat that he got when he was, 16, off of a guy on a train, and he's used it in every adventure. And I'm going, the sweat alone. My cap right here, the shield cap, I've only had this for 4 years. Yeah, I've tried to clean it. But I was looking at that hat in this movie going that is a brand new Stetson fedora. There is no nicks, no stains. It's not faded. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that would have been funny, and I'm glad they didn't do this. But some other director might have been tempted to do this. He goes home into his closet, and he's got a bunch of hats.
He's got a bunch of them. I actually thought it would have been cool if, or they could have done something in the flashback to the last time he saw Wombat, when she's 12 years old. And her dad's gone crazy, and Indy takes the dial. It would have been cool if she had, I got you something. And she had gotten him a brand new hat. And that's the one he's wearing in 69.
Yeah.
Because it's just unrealistic that hat would still be holding up.
I know. I had that same thought watching the end, that the last shot, is it really the same hat and he's had for 30 years?
One thing, it's a darker brown. That's how my brain works. I'm sitting there going, it's a darker brown. It's clearly too new. And it doesn't matter because...
No.
Oh.
There's so many, a lot of things you have. Well, this I didn't even notice when I saw it the first time, was that there is a loose thread in the story. Not exactly a plot hole, but it's just something that's not mentioned again. And when I saw it again, I realized it's not really that big of a deal. Well, the fact that he's kind of been framed for murder in the news by the CIA, I assume, because they want to find him to talk to him. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's when Sala shows up to give him a ride. Sala has to punch out this guy who's just accused. Oh, it's him! It's the killer! Blah blah blah. Because it's on the TV.
It's on TV. Huh?
No, that's never really mentioned again when they get back, and clearly it's been cleared up. But there is a scene. I noticed this in the second time I watched it.
Because how would he even prove to the CIA that
the CIA
stuff
knew
just happened?
The CIA knew it wasn't him, and you see there's a scene in the plane right before the CIA agent we're talking about, the Afro, who she gets, I forget her character's name, but she gets killed in the plane. She's on the phone with the office, and they're talking about the details of what happened. And it's clear that they know that Indy didn't, because she's there, and she told him what happened. She told him everything that happened.
Okay, yeah.
So
they were like, oh, well, he's been cleared of all charges, which is why he's able to live in that same apartment above George, who's stoned out of his mind right now.
Right. So I think they just they cleared his name because there was no point after that. So,
I think the whole implication that because I mean, clearly Schmidt is Werner von Braun if he were a rabid Fourth Reichist who wants to bring back the Reich. Which was not the case. But the whole thing of like, oh yeah, Nazi rocket scientists. But the whole thing is they're only doing all this nonsense with the dial because he got them to the moon. And so basically the CIA is like, go just make sure he's safe, but let him do whatever he wants. It's like, if he wants to go to the Aegean for whatever reason, just humor him. She's like, all right, that's my detail. So, but he's got this whole plan. I do like the little dropping of the seed at the very beginning when they go to Schmidt's. Oh man, the scene with him and the bellhop waiter guy. Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, necessary because we have to hate him. But oh god, that was uncomfortable. But anyway, when they first walk in, and you've got Boyd Holbrook sitting there with the Learn German Berlitz book, and he's practicing his German because he's aware. He's like, I'm going back in time. I'm going to be with Hitler and stuff. I'm going to World War II. Right. I'm that might not have been how he did it. And I like the way they took out the giant, drowning the giant, and Teddy swapping the handcuffs and stuff. That was good. It's good.
Yeah,
because everyone in the theater actually, that's a villain. But the whole idea of being like forced to drown because you've been handcuffed to a grate under, everyone in the theater was kind of like,
yeah. I thought for sure that guy was going to break free.
Yeah, I kind of thought so too.
I
thought he would rise up at some point.
Yeah, but it was good. I mean, you didn't need it. Yeah.
No, they kept whittling them down to where it was just like a couple of the pilots and Boyd Holbrook and Mads Mikkelsen.
So I'm sorry, we talked over each other there. What were you saying about that scene?
I was saying it was good.
Okay.
They just kept whittling. It was a good scene.
Yeah.
I don't want you forcing me to say something I didn't want to say, Chad.
The one other thing too, and this is just one of those things you have to overlook when at the end of that, the train scene where Schmidt or whatever his real name is, I forget. What's Mads Mikkelsen's
They called him Schmidt so long that I can't remember what his real name was.
Anyway, yeah. When he gets knocked off the train by that sign, and they're traveling like at 60 miles an hour down the train.
Oh yeah, I expected him to have some sort of
in the face. Well, number one, he wouldn't have survived that to begin with.
No, he wouldn't have survived that. No,
and they don't ever address it, which is.
Well,
sort of
I thought he would have some like typical thing, like a recognizable. This is my villain mark,
or an eye patch or something. Yeah,
yeah. Because literally, you would be messed up. The side of your face would have caved in at the very least.
So that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. I think that they didn't have this. God damn it, Jones! You. So I'm kind of confused as to why they did. It almost makes me think they filmed the beginning scene after they shot the opening stuff. I don't know. That was kind of a bizarre choice, but I don't mind. This is saying John Campea was one of his. He liked the film, but one of his quibbles was, I don't know. I thought some of the action and was like not a little too hard to swallow. Like there's no way that Indy would have survived this or that, especially being 80 years old.
I'm sorry. Let's go back to Temple of Doom with
Let's look at all the films.
Inflatable raft dropping out of a plane and then sliding down a snowy mountain.
Yeah, there's every movie has stuff.
The refrigerator and the atomic bomb.
Well,
okay. And the thing is,
even going back to the first movie and it being dragged under the truck with nothing but a leather jacket to protect him. Yeah. That would have torn him to shreds.
It would have torn him to shreds. And the same thing happens in this one, except for he's flipped and it's the top of that thing. And I was like, well, they'll show the jacket shredded, right? No. Like even I'm like, that's the toughest leather jacket ever in the world. Damn.
Yeah. That's what these movies are.
That's what these movies are. They're pulp adventure, and you got to let that stuff go, or you're not having fun with it. I'm still okay with the aliens. I just wish that movie had been smarter and better. But I'm still okay with aliens and crystal skulls.
I want to watch it again. I've listened to a couple podcasts and reviews recently where people have gone back to watch the movies, for a retrospective perspective on the new one, and several people going, you know what? Crystal Skull is not as bad as I remember.
Yeah.
So I need to. Then now all the Indiana Jones movies are on Disney Plus, by the way, folks. In case you didn't notice, just the past month or something. I can't remember when they popped up because they weren't always there. So yeah. Watch it. See what you think. Also, guys, I'm going to put in my personal appeal. Go see Dial of Destiny. Yes,
it's good. Did you ever like an Indiana Jones film? If you just said yes to that, go see this. Yeah. I do agree with people saying that literally it is the third best. Yeah. It's the third best Indiana Jones film out of 5, which is saying something. So you put Temple of Doom after it? Yeah. I love Temple of Doom. I do. But I enjoyed this more, mainly because it is cumulative. It's about the end of a story, so it's got a more emotional beat to me. So yeah, Raiders, Last Crusade, Dial of Destiny, Temple of Doom, Crystal Skull. There you go. And I would still watch Crystal Skull. I'm telling you, it's like the character himself is what I'm there to see. Because and I give credit to all the people involved. Obviously Lucas, obviously Spielberg, obviously Philip Kaufman, obviously why am I blanking? Great screenwriter man. Lawrence Kasdan? Thank you, Lawrence Kasdan. Man, I'm getting old. Yeah. And of course Harrison Ford, but they created this great character who, even in weaker entries in his legend, is always worth watching. God damn. Yeah. Anyway, I'm okay. I'm better now. I'm glad we got to talk about it. What do you want to talk about now? Did you have a chance to watch the Uncle Croc's block? I did. Did you? And that McDonald's commercial, which I remembered. That McDonald's commercial, I'll say this, and for the people at home, there was the actor that, is it Robert Ridgely? Robert Ridgely. He, big voiceover guy, but you'd be surprised if you saw him how many movies you'll recognize him from. Okay, well, let's back up first. Remind people what Uncle Croc's block is. First, I will. Gives people some context. Yeah. Back when Chad and I were gushing, and that's a term I don't like using a lot, over Charles Nelson Reilly. Yes. And we've been talking a lot about 70s Saturday morning TV, and I brought up Uncle Croc's block, which was a later Charles Nelson CNR jam. It was a later CNR jam, and it was actually pretty funny because they were trying to do like a parody of kids television that was also for kids, but the adults there's lots of winks to adult stuff too, and it was very laughing, like a lot of quick little bits. And Uncle Croc is the host of this fictional kids show, and it's Charles Nelson Reilly in a crocodile outfit. God bless him. And he's got a cohort named Rabbit Ears. So of course it's another actor in a rabbit costume with a TV in his stomach. This is before the Teletubbies, by the way. Just saying. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Yeah, but so part of one of the things that Chad, I guess, when you were looking stuff up about it, you found a clip that made you laugh. And I did remember they would have guest appearances that were parodies of other kinds of TV. And Robert Ridgely, very talented voice actor and character actor, they had as a recurring guest who was Steve Exhaustion, the $6.95 man. So it's their parody of Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man. And it's pretty funny. Basically, the whole gag is Uncle Croc will have him out, and he'll come out dressed a little bit like in the kind of 70s duds that Lee Majors would have had on. But what's funny or weird about it is he's doing his really cartoonish John Wayne impression. He's not doing a Lee Majors impression. He's not doing Lee Majors now. So he's he's a cheap android. Obviously, the whole gag is he's the $6.95 man, and he comes out talking like this, and you're like, "What the hell is that?" And then it's like, "Shake my hand, Uncle Croc," and then his hand will come off. There's a bunch of wires, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just put that back on." So that's the whole gag. He's a cheap android guy. The bit is funny. And I forgot the thing till I watched the clip you found, because I haven't watched Uncle Croc's Block since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But they kept having cutaways to Jonathan Harris, aka Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, and he's just commenting. It's very much like Laugh In. So like Steve Exhaustion will do something stupid and then cut to Jonathan Harris in a rakish beret, and he just goes, "Oh dear."
Yeah.
Sadness. The pain. He did. The pain, which was the Dr. Smith thing he would say in Lost in Space. Yeah. But it's like also like Monty Python, where they cut in for half a second someone going, "Lemon curry," and instead this is literally just Jonathan Smith going, "Oh no, this will not go well." So it's stupid, but I still appreciate it, and it's all these character actors who are above and beyond. And so Steve Exhaustion. Why is that word tricky for me? Steve Exhaustion.
Exhaustion.
I don't drink, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what's happening to my mouth.
Yeah, I thought it was Robert Ridgely's performance is almost sublime in the fact that he goes so far in the direction of I'm entertaining kids, basically thing, like the silly uncle who's literally in his home.
They're being cartoon characters on purpose.
His nephews or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, what? Here I come.
And he goes, "Well, hold on, I'm coming." He goes, "It's time to run." And you're like, "Are you okay?"
my favorite moment, and this is one of those things I kept rewinding and playing over and over again because it made me laugh so much, was in the one of the clips I sent you. He starts short-circuiting when he sneezes. So then Uncle Croc fixes it by opening a panel on his back and sticking some chewing gum onto this computer panel and closing it. And Robert Ridgely's like freaking out, going, "Oh!" And he sits down, and after he puts the chewing gum in, he's like, he does this expression when he snaps to like back into character, like, huh. And it's almost like this Elvis-y moment. I just thought that's so great. It's so great.
You love some 1970s character actors. I think we've discovered you've got a deep love of these guys.
Well, that was just Robert Ridgely, and I didn't really know much. I recognized him obviously, but that
and surprisingly dramatic acting. He's played a lot of, over the years, bad guys in movies and TV shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he actually can be pretty menacing. And then, of course, I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, he was the voice of Filmation's Flash Gordon and Filmation's Tarzan." So,
tons of voiceover work. I was looking at it.
Tons of it. Yeah, those are just a couple of my favorites.
Yeah.
The guy balanced out because he's the kind of guy who's like, you see him in an episode of The Love Boat, but he's also getting steady work doing Thundar the Barbarian, and it's just that guy never stopped working. And he sings really well in a McDonald's commercial.
I found it because I was reading his Wikipedia article, and they mentioned that in there. Like, my burger machine is something like, "There's nothing more clean than my burger machine," or something like that. But I managed to find this commercial on YouTube.
Do you know what year that was from? It's 70s, clearly, but
78, 70s, probably. Yeah.
The thing I love about it is the focus of that commercial. And I remember that jingle like crazy. And I remember that commercial. But I never stopped to think that the entire focus of that commercial was on how clean McDonald's is. At no point are they talking about good food or tasty. They're just saying, we are very clean here. Yeah. And so it's a bunch of workers back there. And I noticed a couple other guys I've recognized from other things. So, but it's character actors and they're all white. They're all in very, very snappy McDonald's uniforms, and they're just cleaning the kitchen. They're going, what was the one line? Something with a broom and a mop from the bottom to the top, or whatever the fuck. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And it's and it ends up with "you deserve a break today." That's like the classic 70s McDonald's thing. You deserve a break today So get up and get away. I love the way going, so get up, pieces of shit. Get away to McDonald's.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's surreal. That's well worth looking up. And no McDonald's I've gone into in the past few years could claim any of the things that they claim in that commercial.
Yeah.
They're all pretty fucking dirty.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've never seen a broom or a mop.
So, okay. What else? A couple more things.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I did go see Oppenheimer last night.
Late
last night.
I am looking forward to seeing it.
It is really good. It is.
I hear it's a real
long.
pick me up. Yeah,
it's very long.
They say it's the feel good hit of the summer. Is that what they keep saying?
No, but it is very engrossing. Very complex story. So there's a lot. I will just tell you now. There's a lot you're going to miss as the story's going on because there's a lot of information being thrown at you throughout the entire film. But my God, it's an amazing movie. So many great performances too.
It's an amazing cast, and Nolan's a good director who doesn't understand Batman.
Wow, you're not going to let that go. Yeah,
He's still a great director.
Yeah. So, well, let's. I know we mentioned this in that past episode, but your complaint with Nolan and Batman had to do with his reaction to
Maggie Gyllenhaal, his girlfriend's death in the second movie. Basically, the first two. I enjoyed Batman Begins and Dark Knight. I did enjoy them. I had nitpicks about them. Mainly, you could tell Nolan, and he stated it. He's like, he's fascinated by the character, but he's not a comic book guy. And he resists the fantastic elements of comics. So that included costumes, except for Batman. You know, it's like color. There's no color in that world because he doesn't want it. He wants it to be this drab, real world. So Scarecrow is just a guy in a suit, played by Oppenheimer, who puts on a burlap sack. His Joker is a guy who paints his own face for effect instead of him being a guy who falls in a vat of chemicals. So, I mean, in other words, I was accepting of it because the two movies were good. Then in the third movie, the very beginning of Dark Knight Rises is him admitting, I don't get this character at all. Because what we discover is the end of the previous movie, when, unfortunately, Bruce Wayne's girlfriend is blown sky high and he's not able to save her. We find out that Bruce Wayne was so upset about that he literally spent 8 years hobbling around Wayne Manor, growing a beard. Gave up. And I'm sitting there going, that is a to the bone misreading of the character. Because grief and injustice are the man's fuel. He would have gone even harder core into crime fighting, possibly really ultra violently, but he would have reacted by doubling down. So Bruce Wayne is not someone that retreats and hides out for 8 years until someone says, don't you think you should go back to fighting?
Yeah. I know, to be fair too, I didn't like that about the movie either. I didn't even have the perspective that you had from the
it's also
deep knowledge of the source material.
Bane is misdone there. Catwoman, fine choice for her, but it's like, I don't think I just thought he didn't get it. He didn't stick the landing. The whole thing with the whole, now I'm retired and me and Catwoman are happy in Paris. And here comes the guy from Third Planet from the Sun saying like, oh yeah, they called me Robin. Wink.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like that either. Yeah,
also, it was not good that Joseph Gordon-Levitt actually did go wink.
Yeah.
You would think they would have left that on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, Nolan is much better with the kind of stuff he's doing now. I mean, Oppenheimer's that is totally his wheelhouse, I think. I
think he's a guy that needs to do passion projects because when it's something he really is invested in. And I think he probably was very invested in Batman for the first movie. And then it's Warner Brothers throwing money at him going, you're going to make a trilogy, right? He's like, sure. Right. But the stuff that he really cares about, it shows that it's like, wind him up, let him make a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
And it's going to be good. So I'm looking forward to it.
I will say, I think I may have expressed this before as well, but your complaint with that Batman Returns, was that one? No, what's it called?
No, Dark Knight Rises, the third.
Dark Knight Rises is the third one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they sort of misread or misinterpreted his character, that where he's faced with a challenge or a
setback,
faced
emotional
with grief,
trauma,
basically, yeah, and he just says, fuck it. This is one of the reasons why many other people like me had a problem with Last Jedi and Luke Skywalker's. I didn't really mind him having a crisis of faith, but the idea that he would have just walked away after that and left his sister alone to deal with all that was really, really hard for me to believe. And also, even as much as I love Yoda's scene where Yoda appears and says, "Hey, come on, just snap out of it."
Yeah.
The lesson that he gives him.
Good Yoda.
Yeah. The lesson that he gives Luke was something that Luke already knew. Luke already knew that you learned from your failure. That was the whole point of Return of the Jedi too. Like and the whole reason why he wanted to save his dad is like, look, yeah, my dad fucked up, but I'm not going to kill him. There's still good in him.
I think as a fan of that too,
Obi-Wan too had already told him about failure.
I didn't see that as the same thing where I was like, no, I accepted it mainly because I think it was hard for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that you're wrong or that your take on that is wrong, because it is a disappointing turn. But I was okay with the disappointment. I think what impacted a lot of people is this is the first we've seen Luke since the original trilogy. For us, it's the first we've seen.
That made it worse.
That made it worse. But I think that what I was taking it from is we do understand that post Return of the Jedi, he did exactly what he was setting out to do. So for me, there's that whole chunk where he's exactly the Luke that we expected. He's building the new Jedi school. He's bringing in a new generation. But we didn't get to witness any of that. So we get to see him post a really horrible thing that happened and his self-exile, loss of faith. So it is not the place we wanted to pick up. But in my brain, I was still accepting that I didn't feel it was betrayed, the end where we left them in Jedi. It's just that we weren't present for all that other stuff. So it didn't sell us the impact the way it could have of what would force Luke into that kind of situation. But I do get it. And was I disappointed in that? Yes. Him being this grumpy dude who's hidden out and is like, fuck it. Fuck all of that Force stuff.
The thing about it that was good and made sense was that he was trying to point out to Rey the faults of the Jedi. Like, look, there's some stuff there's a lot of stuff that's just fundamentally wrong with the way the Jedi have been doing things. But I think what the answer to that should have been, let's start again, but let's change the way. Let's do it a new way instead of I'm just going to run away and hide on this island. So I don't know, but
dude, I was upset that they burned the ancient texts, because even though symbolically that's important, like we're getting rid of the Book of the Wills and all that stuff, I'm sitting there going like, those are still artifacts, man. I mean, I was thinking like Indiana Jones. I'm like, dude, those are the last texts. You don't destroy the past.
That's how Luke. But the ancient Jedi texts, the way he says it in the film.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and this is another thing the film did not do very well because it's very subtle. Rey had taken the books out of they weren't there. They weren't in the tree. She has them with her. And you see them in the next movie.
Oh, so what the hell was it? Just like
it was a misdirect. But Yoda was fucking with him, basically.
Oh, was it like a vision Yoda he gave him? Like some symbolic?
No, Luke has never revealed this. It's shown to us in the film very briefly that you see Rey has all the books in a drawer on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, but what?
And then she's consulting them in the next movie. Just the tree. Yoda blew up the tree, but the books weren't in the tree.
I thought we actually saw the books burning.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I slept through a lot of that movie. I was really tired, and I was like, yeah, wake me up when it's zoom 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 zoom. Wake me up when you do that.
Well, and that was something that was not handled very well in the movie. Like, okay, so they didn't actually blow the books up, but they really, apparently, obviously it wasn't important to the flow of the story, but it would have been funny for Yoda to go, but not in the tree the books are. Joke on you I've pulled. Get used to it, you shall. Or whatever.
Fucked with you I have.
Yes.
Hey man, that's not cool. No, it's very cool. Cool it was. Cool it was. I think that's a new T-shirt.
And none of it really matters because the next movie just was terrible. I don't want to talk about that though.
Well, I didn't even bring it up. You're the guy who started all this, and now you're sad. This is what you brought on yourself. This is your own sadness. I'm
going to spin it back around. We'll end it on this.
All right, I'm ready.
Very briefly. A commenter. I'm not sure how to say their name. It's Hydralito or Hydrolito. Dropped a bunch of very, very deep facts on a bunch of different videos, mostly on the Time Machine video. A really kind of clever observation that in the Time Machine, because this is on the Time Machine video I just posted last week, which is a shortened version of episode 19. Mm-hmm. They point out an interesting thing about the Time Machine, that where in the Time Machine we've got this is original H.G. Wells, George Pal film, where you've got the time traveler goes into the future, and very, very distant future where we've got humans being subjugated by this sort of ape-like spin-off of humans called Morlocks. Mm-hmm. In the Planet of the Apes, in the far distant future, we've got humans being subjugated by intelligent apes.
Yes.
And a very, very kind of, I never thought about that before, but it's a kind of a similar.
And also, there's not an Eloi-like race, but one of the later movies, it's the third one maybe, is where they find
don't talk. They're kind of like in the novel.
Well, no, they do find the human cult that's living underground, worshiping the bomb.
Right. Okay.
Which I think is kind of a, again, metaphor, heavy-handed, but very still, it's like, we get it. Yeah. So, it's like the Morlocks took the surface, and all the intelligent humans went underground, instead of the Morlocks being underground and all the intelligent humans who are pacifists and weak and walk around going, I like flowers. They're the ones.
You also have a similar, you have a similar moment too, where in the Time Machine, where George realizes what's become of humanity. Like he initially thinks the Eloi are these really highly enlightened, sort of like the new Greek Enlightenment or something, but he realizes the books that they have are all just falling apart. The culture has been left to decay. And there's that scene where he runs back into the eating or the common area. He goes, filthy screws. They're like, I'm going to go back to my own time. At least I can die among men.
I think a really good future world triple feature, as in heavy metaphor looks into our future, would be George Pal's Time Machine, Planet of the Apes, and ZARDOZ. ZARDOZ is batshit insane, but it has this similar thing where you get past some of the, well, no, you can't get past how weird it is, but the whole idea of the way humankind there are some people, they're all very passive. The sex drive is almost entirely gone, but the people that Sean Connery represents, those are the low men. They're the ones who they're considered animals because they still have sex and they're aggressive. And in other words, it's another big commentary movie of the same period where they're like going, dude, humanity will eventually become really weak, or they'll just divide between weakness and what they consider uncivilized. And the uncivilized people are actually the real humans because they feel, damn it. They feel and they live. Ugh! And meanwhile, the aesthetes become these like languid, yes, it's a wonderful day today. That kind of thing. So I would watch those three movies together, and then I would take a long nap.
I never saw ZARDOZ.
You've never seen ZARDOZ?
No.
You've got to watch it. It is insane.
All I know is that I can't remember. I put the comic away, but I have that Superman comic where there's a character
where he's Vartox, where
Vartox.
He's drawn like Sean Connery in ZARDOZ, only they've given him slightly more clothes because in ZARDOZ, balding and hairy-chested Sean Connery's basically running around in a red diaper. It's bizarre, man. You got to see it. Anyway, so, and I guess you could also include, man, it's now 4 movies. Logan's Run is also another good movie of that period that's doing this is where we're headed.
Yeah. That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
We could do a whole thing. Anyway, continue with what this person said.
Well, and it just reminded me of, I hadn't thought about these movies in a while, were the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy that came out a few years ago.
Yes.
Which I really enjoyed. And
Matt Reeves.
And I've forgotten. Yeah, I've forgotten that Matt Reeves directed the second 2. There's also, I didn't know this until just before that we recorded this, that there's a 4th movie coming out.
Yeah, I've heard.
Next year that Matt Reeves, of course, is not doing because he's busy doing the Batman.
He's busy.
But I'm intrigued by that. I just hope it doesn't suck, since I don't know how many people from the original trilogy are involved in it now. But that's one example of a reboot that I thought was unusually good. I thought
every now and then it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, again, talking about classic TV, I was like, you just can't do Lost in Space well. And then that movie with Gary Oldman, and that was so good. And you had Lacey Chabert in it, and you had Matt LeBlanc. That Lost in Space movie. Woo! I'm being incredibly facetious.
Sorry.
It's a piece of garbage. I will say I really enjoyed the first season of the Netflix Lost in Space show from
that was an interesting.
The second season I did watch it. It didn't have quite the same. I didn't enjoy it as much. But season 1 was great, and it was a good reimagining. Very good.
Yeah.
Parker Posey is the new Dr. Smith, and we were talking about Dr. Smith earlier.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, I thought those movies were really good.
They were. And, I want to revisit them.
The way that first movie in particular, which wasn't a Matt Reeves directed one, I forget who directed the first one.
Isn't it that French guy?
It's that first guy.
No, the French guy.
French guy?
I think he's a French guy.
I could be wrong. Open and now I've closed it.
Well, anyway, good.
I thought that movie was so well.
It really was
blocked and scripted, and the way it's the pacing is so great. You got
Andy Serkis, king of the mocap.
Andy Serkis and Jonathan. Damn it, what's his name? Not Jonathan. Right,
fella guy.
No, the guy who plays the father. God damn it, my brain, my aging brain.
You're gonna be okay. Just deep breaths, man. Deep breath.
John Lithgow.
Oh, John Lithgow.
Or Lithgow, yeah.
Man, he's great.
He's fantastic in that film.
He is really damn good. Wait, what am I?
And then James Franco, who unfortunately has turned out to be kind of creepy, right?
I was wrong about it being a French guy. It was Rupert Wyatt. Rupert Wyatt. Yeah, he's problematic. I'm tired of people being problematic.
I know, God damn it.
It's like they didn't listen to me when I said, hey, just be good people.
Could you not? Yeah.
Could you not? Another good t-shirt idea. That'll be our second one. There'll be the Saps t-shirt, and then the Could You Not t-shirt is going to be another.
Could you not? Yeah. I remember you saying that to me when I was clumsily revealing spoilers for Aliens 3 to you at House of Pies. You just kept saying, could you not? Could you not? Oh, sorry.
Man, I should have said, go ahead and spoil it, because it seems like it's going to be a real stink burger. It is not good, but it is well directed, because that's, Fincher saying, like, I'm going to show the world what I can do. And he is a great director, but that movie is a stink burger. And then the fourth one, I don't even want to talk about. It.
It's so weird what they did with that franchise. I don't understand why they thought.
I kept saying,
let's just destroy everything that was great about the second one.
Reason 1 and 2 work is because they're not the same movie. and it expands. It takes the story and it expands. And I always say this isn't, I mean, I was saying this from the get-go. It is about cancer. The xenomorph is a cancer, and that's the way it spreads. And I think Cameron got that because first one's the haunted house movie. There's only one, but it strikes, it kills, she's against it, she wins. But then the next one is about there's more of them. It should have just kept expanding. The third one, everyone in the world was like, well, they come to Earth, right? And then it's like a huge invasion movie. That's what it should have been. Nope, let's shrink the focus back down to another haunted house, only this time it's on a prison planet. And let's make sure we do, as you said, chop off every storyline and character from the previous movie that people were invested in by having a leak in the life support. Yeah, that's what we wanted. Dead Newt, dead Hicks. Fuck that movie. Now I'm angry again.
What's his name? What was Lance's character's name?
Bishop.
Bishop, yeah.
Yeah.
Decapitated Bishop. I guess he wasn't really dead.
Yeah, it was like half a bishop.
Yeah.
Could I please have some more milk that is apparently android blood? Thank you.
Which, by the way,
a little bit more milk.
I know you probably haven't seen it yet, but Artifice Girl, which was the indie sci-fi.
Oh, right. That you told me
mentioned a while back. He has actually a pretty big part. He's in it's a movie. Just I think it's shown in three acts, and he has a big role in the third act. And it's very fitting that he plays this role. He doesn't play an android. Doesn't play an android in the film, but he plays the creator of an android. So it's just
Lance Henriksen is always solid.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys like John and I will, in our podcast, we run across plenty of return people where you're like, this is a really good actor that always ends up in these crap movies, but they always deliver. I mean, Ron Perlman, for instance, always he has had extremely big things that he's known for, like signature things, but he also will take a paycheck and end up in a terrible movie. And we've seen a couple of terrible movies that he's in, and you're like going, that guy's not sleepwalking. He's not phoning it in. He's doing as good a job in this movie as he did in Sons of Anarchy or anything else. It's like, that guy's just solid. And Lance Henriksen's the same. He's like, you're going to get a good Lance Henriksen performance, even if it's a fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. And I'm sorry I had to cuss. I'm sorry you've got to bleep this later. I hope you've got it down to one button. Bloop, bloop.
Yeah.
Bloop, bloop. Well, good on you, motherfucker. I just did it again.
I got to show you where I'm getting all the sounds that I'm using to do the bleeping.
Yeah,
they all come from this Looney Tunes thing that I found. That I don't even know what cartoon it came from. I found it online where it's just somebody posted a video of just all these stock Looney Tunes sound effects.
Well, and they released CDs of them. I had them.
That's probably where it came
from.
And
Warner Brothers both released like classic sound effects from there, and I have those.
Yeah.
Jealous?
Yes.
Okay.
I call the file Silly Brigade because that's what it sounds like, but it's just and you listen to it, you know that it was just recorded on one track with probably about 5 or 6 sound effects guys all standing in a row there's one guy keeping a rhythm, and then they're going boom, they're just doing all these crazy noises and sound effects. And one of my favorite things from that is one guy going point. I've used that so many times. It's so great.
Point.
There's like 6 or 7 different sounds, and I've been using those.
That's one of those things where, and it hits me occasionally because I do the live radio show here, and we have a Foley artist, my friend David Ian. Hi, that's a shout out to David Ian. He's great. But the Foley artistry, it always strikes me as like, people don't think about it when they're watching cartoons and stuff, that it was literally someone's job. And may still be in some animation departments. Someone's job is literally sit there going, hack, boink.
Yeah.
And like, wow, what a wonderful world we live in. That was somebody's paycheck, was making a wacky, weird sound.
Geniuses. And there's one classic Looney Tunes sound I have not been able to find. And I was specifically trying to find it when I stumbled across these other recordings, these other sound effects.
Which one is it?
The one they do. It's the one they do when somebody goes, it's either like does a double take or they zip out of frame or something. It's
I know that one. Yeah.
I can't find it
I
anywhere.
thought it was going to be the one that's
it's in my brain.
It's like there's one that's like this for anything that's spinning in midair that they do, and that's one I always look for.
Yeah.
That one I love too. I love it. Man, we've devolved into this. Make sure you cut all of this for the actual episode.
The other one, really iconic one, which I haven't used, was that the Hanna-Barbera kooky laugh. Whatever that. I can't do it exactly. You know what I'm talking about?
I think you
used
should
to use on Banana Splits a lot too.
Yes, I think you should use more often the Goofy laugh, which is still the best one Disney ever had. Whenever he's falling off a cliff, I fucking love that. Anyway, what else does our friend say? Let's wrap up on another thing.
He dropped a lot of facts, or they dropped a lot of facts about things we talked about. One thing he says, because your bit with Captain Crunch and Thanos.
Yeah.
In that video.
Yeah. Is he going to bankroll my movie?
Says, I think Captain Crunch might have a better chance against Captain Hook. Yeah, probably so.
It's probably, well, it'd be easier to get the glove off. Wait, no, that's not true.
Didn't Captain Crunch have a canonical villain in the cartoon and the commercials?
Jean Lafoot, the barefoot pirate. Jean Lafoot. It's a play on Jean Lafitte, actual historical pirate. But Jean Lafoot, in my graphic novel, Breakfast of the Gods, they have a climactic final battle in my thing, but it's actually a nasty surprise. I don't want to spoil it. A graphic novel that I wrote over a decade ago. Yeah. But it's very violent, but it's also, I'm very proud of the panel. If anyone looks up my comic and finds that one shot, I was like, man, I pulled that off. Every now and then, give myself the ow.
That's right.
Scourging of pride.
Go and buy it, because I've the link to purchase the novel, or
go buy it. Novel. All 3 books in one volume. This complete Breakfast of the Gods with guest art in the back from people, and a foreword by my friend Jon Schnepp. R.I.P. My friend Jon Schnepp. Yeah, nice. He wrote the foreword and did one of the pages of art. He did a guest. He was like, because I was like, these are the stories I want to include as extras. They're 1-pager stories. I was like, so I was handing them out amongst friends who were artists. I was like, John, which one do you want? He's like going, the one where Chocula meets Frankenberry for the first time. I was like, yours. And he did a great job. Yeah. Anyway, so
I've been plugging that book in the description.
I appreciate you plugging the book and our Indiegogo for Tesla City Stories. I appreciate it, guys. Chad's band doesn't need your help. Chad's band Blackguards has been playing for basically 48 years. They've got multiple greatest hits albums out. They don't need the help. All of my things, they need your help. So I appreciate it. I'm joking. Go see Blackguards when they play near you. You're about to go to Wisconsin, is that it? Minnesota?
I don't know. No, we're going, we're going to Montana.
That's it.
In a few weeks, yeah. We just got back from Missouri and Arkansas.
Man.
Which is why I haven't had time to edit episode 28.
Yeah.
This is the first time since we've launched the show that I haven't had time, that I haven't actually finished this previous episode before recording the next one.
It's okay, man. Cut yourself some slack. You're a busy fella.
Okay.
All right. And like Professor Jones. Oh, by the way, I did love that we finally heard the lyrics to the theme song. I was really pleased at the end credits of Dial of Destiny where they finally put the lyrics in. He's Indiana or Dr. Jones. He's Indiana or Dr. Goddamn Jones. He's Indiana or Dr. Jones. If you're a Nazi, he'll whip you. If he sees you, you're dead. Nazi, Dr. Jones. He's Indiana or Dr. Jones. Yeah, I was like, finally.
That's why I always heard Indiana Jones, but I never really knew. I didn't think to do it the way you did it.
I like, he's Indiana or Dr. Jones.
Or Dr. Jones.
Indiana or Dr. Goddamn Jones?
It depends on the professional context.
Is he wearing a hat? Then you call him Indy. Does he have glasses and a tweed suit? He's Dr. Jones. Anyway, I did love it, and I'm glad we both got to basically tell everyone they're wrong and shut up, because it's a damn fine movie.
And then, I was going to mention this or really quickly. I was going to mention this earlier, that almost all of the sequels, all of the sequels to the first movie were met with mixed reviews. Not as mixed as this one.
I think you're right. I think Last Crusade was the one that pretty much everyone did love.
Temple of Doom when it came out, and we're now ranking it lower than Dial of Destiny, both Brendan and I.
Actually, I liked Temple of Doom when it first came out.
Did you?
I did. I liked the darker take, and I liked the fact that it purposely veered away from Judeo-Christian artifacts. Oh, also another thing I love in Dial of Destiny. Sorry, one last thing. I love that it sets up the fake artifact at the beginning. The spear of Longinus is literally something that is. I'm sure there are so many spec scripts for Indiana Jones movies out there that feature it, because the Spear of Destiny, Hitler actually was looking for it. It supposedly would give you power. That's legit. Wow. So the idea that it sets that up and it's like going, no, man, this is totally a fake. Yeah. I was like, great, because Archimedes' dial is not a religious object. It is not tied into Judeo-Christian myth. So I like the Shankara stones for the same reason, because it's like, Indy's not just going after like holy grails and stuff like that. It's like, there are all kinds of artifacts with power in them. And I like that Indy's not just like going, if it ain't tied in with Jesus and his dad, I don't want it.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. And so as much as I loved Last Crusade, and as much as River Phoenix was
that opening still.
There's no way they could have cast a better young person to play a young
R.I.P. to him as well.
He even had the thing with the.
He captured it, and angry. A young guy who's a talented young actor is able to embody an older actor. Like, he probably watched it a million times. Like, oh, he does this a lot, and then is like he's inhabits. Great.
But the thing I didn't like about that kind of bugged me about that opening sequence is there's so much in that opening sequence that's on the nose.
All the things that become synonymous with him, he gets in one afternoon.
On the same train. Basically.
I'm afraid of snakes. Scar, hat. It belongs in a museum. Whip. It's just literally one whips everything one after the other. I'm like, that's too much. That's too much. I mean, Batman. It took him years to put on a bat suit. Now I'm angry again. Anyway, go see Dial of Destiny. That's your job, your mission. Should you accept it? And this will self-destruct in 5 seconds. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time for episode number 30.
Holy crap.
Steps number 30.
Yeah. I don't even know what we're going to talk about.
No.
All right, bye.